Welcome back to Tools and Track. In this episode we're brought to you by Steppenwolf, for it's time for us to take a
on a magic carpet ride.
A man loves a list.
In our last episode we up, basically. Well, we didn't, but we just got to the point where like, I've had enough, I need to go home and have a bath and listen to some Kenny G and light some candles.
There was also some smoke pluming out the engine,
And it wouldn't idle.
there was some fuel pluming out of the bottom, and there was some idle that wasn't anywhere to be seen, and then that was really the end of that day.
So what we're going to do today is remedy all of these problems. Right, so the first thing we're going to have to put on the list is sort the idle.
Sort the idle.
Then we're going to drink some coffee. Then we're going to have to change oil.
Oil, yep.
So we sorted the exhaust kind of in the other episode, but I've had a look underneath and it's sitting way too low, and I think we drive this around, it's going to turn my exhaust into sparks. Before we fit the seats, we'll need to sort carpets, because there we go. I are good in England. Right, on your insistence, we're double checking these, which I'm sorry. Tight. I don't know what you're on about. Oh, a wee bit, but I would call that torque. Tight. Aye, alright. So we know exactly the point where the Milwaukee was running out of battery.
Yep.
Okay, next. I'm big enough to admit it. You were right.
Next.
Okay, carpets. What we've got at the moment is a half disassembled Chimaera interior. Now, as we've took the body off, and I probably told you this about 300 times, you've got to rip all the floor carpets up. So I've not bothered putting these back in, but handily enough, it does look like the floor carpets are the first things that will need to come out anyway. So we're going to carry on with this. You'll probably note that somewhere around about here, this all overlaps. So we want to put it back in the right order because we only really get one crack at this. Well, they glue in, and there's somewhere close to, I don't know, Christ, 300 sections. It's not all one big carpet that's moulded. It's several small sections of carpet that glue together. Right, I think the first carpet when you take it from the bottom is this. As you can see, I've popped up the door sill trim that holds this. And yeah, we're just going to give it a tug right the way down here, hopefully. Oh no, I tell you, like, before that, we have this. And there's what the front of the door is. We have a join here. That is the bottom of the A-pillar and the footwell. And this guy actually sits and curves around. So that mad looking guy is actually the bottom of the steering wheel. We'll file that, I'm sure it'll be handy for reference later. Onwards and upwards. So it would appear the roof needs to come off. Oh goody! Just when I thought I haven't f***ed around with this car enough. Boom. As you can probably guess by now, I'm going to do this entire retrim without taking the roof off, because, truth be told, I can get most of the trim under it. This section of carpet here, that was bonded to the bottom of the roof, is actually okay, but my biggest reason for it is I'm just all out of it. I've run out of budget and the roof's just going to have to wait. The good part is though, I can keep this last section and just put it back on whenever I get budget to do the roof again. Alternatively, if one of the many TVR parts places who I've spent copious amounts of money with over the past few months fancy giving me a roof, and I'll give a how-to on how to fit one, you know how to get in touch. Otherwise, this is going to happen next year. I'm an ogre! I've got a swamp to pay for! Fiona! the last bit off is the centre console carpet. This is the driver's side. Now, as you can see, there's a wee vent here, which I'm sure connected to nothing on the other side. Yeah, whatever. All of this was bonded in, and then for some strange reason, and ask me why, there was this just glued on here for some reason. I have no idea what that was meant to cover or why, but I'm going to bet that that's in the new kit as well. And if you don't take it all out and remember where everything goes, you'll see that and go, the hell is this meant to go to? There, it's meant to go to there. We are now fully stripped, with the exception of one bit at the very back. Fully stripped the carpet. So next step, need to make a decision on what I'm doing with the padding. There is padding under the carpet in this model. I don't know if they'll come with it, who knows. All the rough bits that are obviously broken I've taken off. I don't think I'm going to replace them, if I'm being honest, because what's the point? All the wee last strands of carpet, all the wee bits of fluff, got to get them all out of the way. And then it's a very simple process. One panel at a time, just start gluing it on. This is everything out of the car as it faces that way. Tunnel panels, the rear parcel shelf. This load of gubbins is what goes around the driver's top seat belt mount. This is the driver's side sill panels, where the pedals are, panel for the cubby hole, passenger seat belt top mount gubbins, passenger side sill. The panels that have the most overlap in them are these two transmission tunnel ones. Everything else goes on top of them, they don't cover anything else. So that's where we're going to start. That's the panel in. Not the easiest one to show you, because obviously most of it's hidden in the dark of the footwell. But once you've got it down, just rub across everything, make sure it's nice and flat. Transmission tunnel done. What's next? We'll need to clean this up. Now that the two side panels are in, take these off the to-do list. This lower panel sits roughly where the driver's seat goes. That has plenty of overlaps. Let's get this guy in next. Taking the rubber seal off because this is going to tuck over it once it's all in place. Cleaned up all the face that it's going to mate to. It's time to glue. I'm so glad I still get to use a hammer. Required when all of your roof spars are disconnected. Okay, this is where it gets a bit tricky. So I've managed to get in the footwell, which is actually quite hard to see, because this has got a mad wee over trim bit that doesn't want to stick down too well. I've jimmied it. Again, glad I get to use tools here, just not in the manner they were prescribed. That'll do. Aye, the tiger baby. Another Professor Bobag top tip. Trying to get this guy to stick down, a bit tricky, because it's covering two bits of carpet on each side. So I found the heaviest, stoutest, but most compact thing I can find. Just sat on it. And that's done it. Another useful snippet. As you'll note, we've completely covered where the top seatbelt mount goes in this guy. So rather than stabbing and chopping everything, check it first with a very small screwdriver, because that way if you miss and you've not found it, the hole you made will be barely perceptible. At some point we're obviously going to have to put the car back in the air. A, to get these seatbelt mount bolts in at the back, and B, because I need to reattach the battery tray. So up we go. That was smoke in the water. Obviously you can hear it. Not just because of the noise of the jack, but because my rendering was pish. Let's talk about leaks, baby. Right, something under here is dripping. Where is it? It appears we have a leaking fuel line. I'm glad I spotted this early. I've got to be honest, Tools and Track fans, I've made a bit of a souse ear of this. the fuel line has not been tightened up when I put the body on. Now that's fine. Just go in and tighten it up now. The problem I have is I can't get a bloody screwdriver in to do it. Let me show you what I mean. As you can see, I've made an absolute tit of this because there's no real way for me to get this to tighten up. So what we're going to have to do instead, I'm going to have to delete this guy altogether. So it's time for us to give up altogether. And there is my solution, which is near enough impossible to see. But we've rerouted this. Okay, we'll tie that out of the way. And I've managed to get pliers in there just to put a wee compression clip on. And that ain't moving. So fingers crossed, that fixed the problem. Ready for a seat. Here's a little addendum from our previous episode about putting MX5 seats into a TVR. Now, I, in typical tools and track style, did it the quickest, easiest and cheapest way possible, and that was running a bolt out of here that just sits out in the atmosphere under the car and gets nipped up. Well, what seems to have happened since then is I've left these lying in the ground and then moved them repeatedly for months, and now I'm having issues getting nuts on them again. We're going to use this guy again. This is one of these little chamfer bits that you get online. Now, I've used these before now on the driver's seat, which is fully fitted. This is a passenger one. And what I found, if you're going to use one of these, is try and get a nut on first. That might be a problem if you've already buggered the thread, but don't forget there's a nut that holds this bolt in on the seat rail. Use that if necessary to run off and recatch the thread. The reason being, this will chamfer the thread and make it work, but getting the nut on after this is drilled, I've found has been a little bit tricky. So let's see what we can do with this. One down, 3 to go. There we go. So there's a real panel there that's went in, and that wee front sub panel is a bit short on the driver's side, that's in. I've just plumbed in the battery. So next up, we'll just sneak underneath and locate the 2 bolts and nip the battery box up. My list gets shorter every day. Don't tell both like that. That's not very cash money of you. Both of these captive threads are no longer captive. I need to take this all back out again, and I need to remedy 2 captive nuts, and then I need to put it back in again. And just to clarify, this isn't light, this is like a proper big stupid honking battery. I think it's time for plan B. Or F or G, I don't know what we're at this point. Aye, the battery's going in the boot. My list gets longer every day. My list gets longer every day.